So today we're doing we are doing a Today we're working on venting a big mesh panel for the rear of this car. I've already kind of done these side profiles that are going to capture my big, mesh panel. So when I say mesh panel, I just mean a panel that has cutouts in it, that you'd put like stainless mesh in or expanded, corrugated metal. So the first thing that I'm doing right now is I'm doing a layout. This is the panel that I'm doing, and I've kind of started my layout on this thing. The first thing you need to do is just figure out what your pattern's going to be for where your cutout is. The other thing is you have to figure out if you're going to bead roll and step the edge of your panel before you do your cutouts, because you want to get that bead rolling done first, so then your panel's not distorting. Because if you have a 1-inch space where your bead roll is to where your cutout's going to be, then you're going to get a lot of deformation. So you want to make sure to bead roll your whole shape first before you go and make the cutouts. So right now I'm going to finalize my pattern on here and my layout on this panel, and then I'm going to bead roll it before I do any cutting of the cutouts. So I got all the layout done for this thing. If you can see it, kind of see the perimeter, there's actually 2 lines. So the outside line is going to be where the bead roll step is, and then this inside line is going to be the cut line. So the most important thing that I watch out for when I'm doing this is I make sure that I have enough spacing here where when the mesh goes under this and the bead roll step is here, that there's enough to capture it and to get hardware in here where the hardware isn't just pinched off by not having enough material. So I always go with 3/4 of an inch from bead roll step to cutout, and that gets you a good space for like a 1024, or a 1032 piece of hardware to capture everything, or just an 1/8 inch rivet. So this is gonna get bead rolled right now, and then I'm gonna circle back and go over how to cut this thing out. Bead rolling is done on this thing. You can see that outside edge now. You can see that there's that 3/4 distance between my cut line here. So both of these shapes are done on this panel. Now I'm gonna get to cutting. So these are the main guys I use for cutting out panel cutouts. Simple 4.5 inch grinder, 045 cutoff wheel on there. And then air saw, which is one of my most used tools. I got a couple of these guys. This is a snap-on, and I just use a Morse blade from Jag 10. But like I said, the big cuts, the big long cuts, I will just use a 4.5-inch electric grinder like this. It gets it done quicker, so there's not as much distortion in the aluminum when it gets heat into it. And I also use a tube wax. So you can look online, this stuff's, you know, it'll make you cut 50% better, especially with high spinning stuff like a cutoff wheel that gets hot. It doesn't pack up, meaning like there's not a bunch of aluminum that builds up on the wheel and makes it so it's harder to cut and makes more friction. So I'm gonna hit it first with this. I'm gonna use the tube wax as like a lubricant for that, and then I'm gonna hit the corners with the air saw. This is proven to be the quickest, most efficient way to get cutouts in a panel. Another thing you'll notice when I'm clamping is to get some kind of a thick stock of cardboard or template paper or anything that's going to cushion the clamping force of like a vice grip like this against your surface, so you're not scuffing it or denting it or doing anything to the top surface when you're clamping and putting pressure on it. So all the straight cuts are done. You can see I've gone and got everything I can that is straight before it starts a radius. So I have all these done. So next I'm going to use the air saw. Most important thing, just like cutting the straights, is you want to be on the inside of your line. So if that's your layout line, then you want to make sure, if this is the panel that's going to be coming out and it's not part of this piece anymore, then you want to cut on the material that you're removing anyways. So just like that, I want to be on the interior side of my line. So you can see cutouts are done. Got pretty close on here. You can see there's still some line left on the layout, and I just leave that and I clean it up with a file. Usually you can get really close with the air saw, and you know, then just get after it with a file, just really quick on the corners to really fine tune the radius. But you know, as long as you stay inside your lines like I was talking about, if you just remove material on the part that you know you're going to take out, and then you'll never have a problem. Just never go over that line. I like to use a fine tip Sharpie on this stuff, just so your layout, you know, is tighter. If you use something like a regular tip Sharpie, it's almost 1/8 inch wide, and then it just leaves so much room for error. So, you know, this guy right here, I use a dual tip for, this is just for general marking, and then I get this guy, and this is what really leaves, you know, a fine tip. If you were to use the other side of that thing, you're running something bigger like that, where if you're cutting with a thin blade and you want something to be straight and precise, then that's just gonna be wobbly and let you drunk drive all the way through there. Hi Jeffrey. Say hi.
Fab Diaries?
Yeah.
Famous now.
Oh, okay.